In 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte led a massive army into Russia, aiming to force Tsar Alexander I to cease trade with Britain. In the summer of 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte commanded the greatest army Europe had ever seen, nearly 700,000 men from across his empire. His goal? Force Tsar Alexander I back into the continental system and crush Britain's last ally on the continent. Russia, however, was vast, unyielding, and prepared to make war on its own terms. Sound: distant marching drums, faint winter wind foreshadowing the coming cold. On June 24th, the Grand Army crossed the River Niemen. Napoleon sought a quick, decisive victory, but the Russians refused to play his game. Under Generals Barclay de Tolly and Bagration, they retreated, burning towns, destroying supplies, and luring the French deeper into the heart of their country. Sound: crackle of burning buildings, galloping hooves, shouted orders in French and Russian. At Smolensk, Napoleon took the city, but found nothing but ashes. Still, he pushed on toward Moscow. On September 7th, at Borodino, the Grand Army met the Russians in one of the bloodiest battles of the Napoleonic Wars. The French claimed the field, but at terrible cost, tens of thousands dead, and no decisive victory. A week later, Napoleon entered Moscow, expecting peace talks. Instead, he found a deserted city in flames. Tsar Alexander gave no reply. By mid-October, with no peace and winter closing in, Napoleon ordered a retreat. But the Russian winter was merciless. Snow, hunger, and constant harassment by Cossacks turned the march into a nightmare. At Miloslavets, Russian forces blocked his southern escape, forcing the army back along the path it had come, through its own devastation. Sound: bitter wind, the crunch of boots in deep snow, coughing moans. In November, at the Berezina, the Grand Army suffered its final catastrophe. Thousands drowned or were cut down as the ice turned red with blood. Of the 600,000 who crossed into Russia, barely 24,000 returned. Napoleon's dream of European domination had been shattered. The campaign of 1812 was not just a military defeat, it was the beginning of his downfall. In the endless white of a Russian winter, an empire had frozen and broken.